Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is May 22nd. Wendell's missing.
Wendell's turned invisible. He's not feeling well.
He is not feeling well. He may be back in a minute, though.
If he's not back in a minute, don't fear the worst.
Or maybe, whatever you feel good about.
Fear
if
a
you
little
want
bit.
to feel a little bit of fear.
I don't think it's life-threatening, but anyway, I would say let's cheer ourselves up.
But this is kind of the sad section.
This is the collapse section, and unfortunately, it's not that much different from other weeks' collapse sections. It's job losses.
Recently delisted Toshiba to cut 4,000 jobs in restructuring drive.
Now, we know Toshiba is not the Toshiba of old. It's been acquired. It's been wound down, and they are just continuing to
cut.
Try to make
They're
it profitable.
restructuring, but they're really just cutting.
Yeah, it's weird how restructuring always ends up with a smaller structure, never a larger structure.
Or even a same size structure.
And that is true of almost every tech company right now. Everybody is cutting, but the weird thing about it is you would expect big cuts to accompany bad fiscal reporting, right? And yet Google, they had a really, really good quarter.
Google employees question execs over decline in morale after blowout earnings. I think we may have covered part of this last week. Oh, now we got a phone call. Let me entertain you with some dancing, chat room. I bet it's spam.
Hello? Hello?
It was spam.
Was spam.
It was spam.
But I had to take it because it might have been about my truck that's in the hospital.
It's very, very sick.
Right. You said you covered this last week.
I think so, yeah. This might be a different story, but I think we covered it last week where they had the great earnings report and then people were asking all the execs, like, what's going on? Like, how come nobody got their raises or blah, blah, blah? And they're like...
Not only that, but the stock buyback.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you said you had to cut to save money, but then you took a bunch of money and you bought stock back.
They made a lot of very tone-deaf jokes, too, which I thought was especially callous.
Oh, yeah. What's his name, said maybe we should offer them like training or something, right?
Yeah, training and investing or something like that. It's like financial investing. I was like, or literacy or something. It was really, really tone-deaf. It's a bold move.
A bold move and bold moves that are also echoing in other companies, most notably Tesla, who seems to be very quick to this. A lot of these companies, I think they do try to hold it off because it's such bad PR, but Mr. Musk is just up there with the scissors, just snipping away every week.
Tesla plans to cut 601 more jobs in California, notice the government says. What an oddly specific number.
Well, that might be... I wasn't sure if these two stories correlated or not, but that last one might have been the supervisor who was not on the original list, because that might be this supervisor who had the gall to talk back to the God King.
The inside story of Elon Musk's mass firings of Tesla Supercharger staff.
So basically that supervisor, I don't know if it was the same 600 people or not, but was like, hey, wait, Lord Musk, didn't you just cut my staff last week? I think this will be bad for morale. And the response was, you're going with them. And they're all gone. Now, I did see a report, and I forgot to try to find it, to add for an update, that he might be having to hire them back.
Yeah, because they know where the bodies are buried. What are you thinking, getting rid of all your staff like that?
But he also took money, right? He took a lot of money for Superchargers. This is the entire Supercharger team.
It's baffling. The drug said it was a good idea.
How big of a K-hole was he in that night?
No.
Worrying about that. He probably doesn't worry about anything. And we have the meme stocks are back. I don't know if this is something to be happy about or sad about, or maybe it's just...
It is amusing.
It's entertaining.
It's fun to watch.
It's something to watch as Rome burns, I suppose.
Roaring Kitty trader returns, causing GameStop shares to jump more than 70%. GameStop's like, whew. Because I think, didn't they just do cuts not too long ago? I feel like we did a story about that.
They did, and in the wake of this, they issued new shares, which destroyed all of the gains that they got. So if you bought into Roaring Kitty 2.0, you probably got burned pretty hard. But in the meantime, the reason it went up so much is it's a short squeeze because all these companies are so short because GameStop doesn't have a business model.
Yeah.
Then it goes up a bunch and they have to cover. So then they have to buy and it feeds in on itself. It's a smart move if, like many pyramid schemes, if you're one of the first ones in.
Well, the one at the top of the pyramid.
But if you bought late, you probably got hurt pretty bad there. And, boy, I really thought Wendell was going to love this story. And honestly, I didn't read too far into it because I was like...
Anytime there's a hardware story, I'm like, Wendell's going to talk about this.
Wendell's going to do like 5 minutes on this. I don't need to look too far into it. But it does seem very cool. I mean, having multiple computers... I think a lot of us have multiple computers around here. Connecting them can be annoying.
Around here. Intel's new Thunderbolt Share provides file and screen sharing without hurting network performance.
So you can do various configurations here. You can also use their dock. So if you've got a mobile device of some kind, convenient.
Who has mobile devices? Not me. I resent having to have a mobile device.
And another one that I just assumed Wendell would be very hyped for and tell us all about. But this is certainly a good thing, right? Having more control over your CPU is always going to be something that we want.
AMD core performance boost for Linux getting per CPU core controls. I'm having to lean forward to read that. Is it still zoomed in from last week? No. As soon as he sat down to sort the story, he's like, I can tell you were at this because everything is zoomed in.
That was zoomed in. I unzoomed it. Just, because it doesn't always fit well.
I did have to rearrange it on OBS.
They have got these tools on Linux where you can, control because we have these new CPUs that have economy cores and performance cores and stuff like this. This gives you more control on a per core basis over all of that stuff. I'm sure a lot of people in the chat are hyped for that. And one thing that we should all be hyped about, because at one point in our lives we're going to be old and maybe infirm and lying in a bed, but maybe we won't be limited by our rotting husk of a body anymore. However, some really bad news.
Did Neuralink ignore early trial risk? Brain implant issues plagued lab before human case. I don't think I've actually ever seen the picture of it. I assume that's the...
It's bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of one of the machine monsters in the Matrix.
Oh, the ones that went in his stomach?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's it's smaller than that. But
so you can see all these little filaments down here that have to be very carefully placed in the brain in order to get and receive signals. It turns out those are slowly backing out.
Yeah, we did that.
Coming loose.
Which I assume that's the body rejecting it, right? I guess we don't know yet, but it's a foreign object. The body's like, no, I don't want that in me. Push it out.
If I could give them a suggestion, and I'm not a neurosurgeon, a little Loctite on that just before it goes in.
Just a little super glue. Stay right in.
And this is another one for people with disabilities. I'm a little concerned that this might end up being more of the advertising team.
Yes.
Rather than the accessibility team that this benefits.
Apple brings eye tracking to recent iPhones and iPads. I don't ever want that.
Now, this is an interesting, because think about this from a user interface perspective. The way that you click something is what they call a dwell. So you're looking around, and if you focus on an icon for a certain amount of time, it clicks it. I think I would probably do that too often, don't you?
Yeah, sometimes you just want to... Can't I just look at something without clicking on it?
You're like, oh, that's a really great icon. Let me see some details, and then it just opens.
Yeah, imagine, too, how annoying it is. Well, yeah, there's no input from the user there. It just assumes what you want. I don't like that.
Or you're trying to, side-eye something to not trigger it, but you want to try to read it.
You want to look at it? Well, I'm thinking, too, imagining being, a developer and you're trying to, fix something and you're trying to look at it to figure out what's going on with it, and it just keeps clicking it.
Well, I think most able-bodied people would turn that off.
Right, but...
Although I'm sure there's some lazy people.
That'd be a fun bug hunt. If someone didn't tell you they were in that accessibility mode and it's like, this icon keeps clicking. And it's like, what?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a big grandma problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Google is doing something that it did before and then murdered the whole thing. So should we trust it this time around? Should you really invest?
But this time's going to be different. Google opens up its smart home to everyone. Will make Google TVs home hubs.
So it's going to give you an API. They already had an API for Nest. Remember Nest?
It's in the Google graveyard.
The Nest was torn down, cast to the wind. This might be someday as well. But it is pretty open, so it's open if you want to do your own home automation stuff, mixed and matched with Google stuff. You're not locked into the ecosystem. Better than Apple, I guess, right?
The bar's in hell, but it's a little higher.
And the bar for supercomputers is very high. And Intel has a new offering. Well, not a new offering, but they're ramping up, actually getting this one at full capacity. However, not number one.
Intel Aurora supercomputer breaks exascale barrier but fails to topple AMD Frontier.
87% functionality. It sucks if you're the guy who's tasked with that last 13%, because that's the hardest 13.
Well, what's the thing about like project management where it's like 90-10? Yeah. That 10%, why don't we just get that? And it's like,
And it seems that every device that we own, especially ones that are worn on our bodies, by law, must come with AI from now on.
Meta exploring AI-assisted earbuds with cameras, the information reports.
Cameras in my earbuds.
That's going to be a nasty camera look.
I'm guessing the camera's going to point out the end of the little stick, right?
I guess. What if you don't like earbuds? Because I don't like earbuds. I don't want something in my ear.
I don't want cameras.
Yeah, I definitely don't want cameras, but I just don't want anything touching the inside of my ear.
Also, how much is that camera going to tax that tiny little battery?
What's the quality on the camera, you think?
Well, good enough for AI.
Uh-huh.
And you were hyped, as usual.
Yeah, it's a weather event. I love it.
We didn't get anything too terrible around here.
We got to see the Aurora. It
But
wasn't great.
Did you see anything that was broken because of it?
I don't think so.
Well, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
Solar storm knocks out farmers' tractor GPS systems during peak planting season. I did hear about this. That is distressing.
So if you're not hip to the modern farming methods, it's all very automated. And it's even down to like how the rows are oriented and spaced apart. So you have multiple pieces of farm equipment, like you have a sprayer, for example. The sprayer, because of the GPS, knows where the seeds are planted, so it doesn't run over them.
Right.
And it sprays them correctly.
Yeah, I'm sure everything's calibrated between the machines. And
there's little base stations that broadcast and let all the pieces of farm equipment know. Well, guess what? The solar storm screwed up those base stations. But the tractors didn't know. They were just getting bad data. And they were like, oh, yeah, sure. They're out there doing figure eights. And
that's going to be a really interesting configuration.
And so they pointed out, it's like, this is not just today's problem, because every time we come back and we have to spray these or whatever, the harvesters or whatever, it's all going to be wrong. And we're not sure how it's wrong. So we can't really compensate.
That'll be interesting. I had a example of that, but like on a human scale, where I planted zinnia seeds by my garage, and I just like throw the seeds everywhere and then rake them in. But then we got really heavy rains for a couple days, and now all my seedlings are coming up, but none of them are at the back. They're all at the front where the water pushed all the seeds together. And now it just looks awful, but
it's
that's
like a
fine.
mosh pit.
Oh yeah, I have zinnias. Only the strongest survive. I've thinned them a little bit already, but it's just going to be chaos.
The happiness level for those zinnias has to be low because they're all
bunched together, and they can see the dirt that's all clear, and they're like, "Why didn't you plant us there?" I did, but
every time you walk past them, they're cursing you.
Yeah, they're very upset.
But they're not as upset as the people who own all those tractors that we were just talking about, because those tractors aren't just magical in that they can do all that stuff. It takes a lot of equipment, electronics, and because it takes all those electronics, they've taken every opportunity to lock it down. The walled farm, you may call it.
The walls are closing in on John Deere's tractor repair monopoly.
I think,
and there was much rejoicing.
Honestly, I think 404 is a little optimistic here.
I mean, yeah, but it is nice sometimes to hope, right?
So they got these EC, what is it, ECU, ECM?
Some states have also like gone up against John Deere as well and won.
You've probably heard us talk about Apple in terms of like, if you replace a screen on an Apple or an accelerometer on an Apple phone, you have to have the right kind of code or device or whatever to say to the phone, no, you can trust this screen. This is a genuine Apple screen. And if you use a third-party screen, at least in the past, it might not work or bad things would happen. Well, the same is true for these tractors. You can try to fix them on your own, but usually you need somebody at John Deere to approve whatever you're replacing, or it simply won't work.
It's a crappy system.
And so 404 points out that there are a lot of class action lawsuits, and they certainly have merit in my mind.
Yeah, well, and like I said, some states, I can't remember which all ones, we've done stories about the states that have come up against John Deere and been like, you can't do this anymore, and they're starting to win. Right to repair, specifically.
But we also had the story about, was it Indiana or Illinois where John Deere's headquartered?
Either of those would be right, considering, the amount of corn and stuff harvested there.
They point out the amazing amount of power they have in that state. It's kind of like Samsung in Korea. Like,
John Deere.
They pretty much own the legislature there. And so they've been able to fight it really, at least in that state, really hard. Krista, I'm sure that you fully understand quantum entanglement.
Oh, absolutely.
As I do.
Because, I went to art school and we talked about that a lot in my side courses.
Why don't you explain it to these plebs?
Quantum internet draws near thanks to entangled memory breakthroughs. Well, just obviously it's clear from the headline. I assume it just means faster. But.
It is. No, it's so quantum entanglement is this magical thing where at the quantum level, you can associate two things and move them apart and change one and the other changes. It's pass by reference and pass by value. Our world, we live in pass by reference, but in quantum world, pass by value. They have figured out how to maintain that for 1 second. Which is really impressive. Doesn't seem impressive, I know. But if they could figure that out, then we could literally instantly communicate with another place on Earth. I think right now they're using fiber optic cables to connect the two.
Yes, we need more room for quickly evolving arguments online.
Get those memes moving fast.
I think we got to go fast. Have you ever just woken up and been like, I wish that the world moved faster?
When my internet was out and I was using the hotspot, and at some point it throttles you because you've used too much.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because it was like you could actually see the images loading in again.
And it's like, oh, I remember this world.
Time machine.
This is a simpler time.
A simpler time when we did not have this kind of technology for sure. I don't know if I believe this headline because this is self-reporting.
I also don't believe
I think this is just kids being like, of course I'm into the new cool thing. What are you thinking? Or
1 in 4 U.S. teens say they play games on a VR headset. I feel like I'd only believe this, like, where was the sample taken? Oh, another phone call.
Hello? Yep. All right. I probably can't get that till Monday. Is it cool if it stays there over the weekend? All right. Thanks. Yeah. I'll probably be there Monday.
Is the truck healthy? Did it make it through its surgery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Prognosis is good.
All right. Great.
It's ready. I don't have time to go get it today though.
The 1 in 4, I assume that the sample was from someplace either extremely wealthy or, like you said, it's maybe like it was phrased as, have you ever tried VR?
Importantly, they did not ask them if they owned one, just whether they play games on one.
If you've tried one, yeah. Because I've tried a VR headset, but I don't own one.
Now, this is interesting. This is a PC Mag. This feels a little bit like a sponsored story, don't you think? Now, they do sort of give you the caveats in the article meat, but if you just read the headline, this is very pro.
It sounds pretty Comcastic.
Yeah.
Comcast now offers no data cap, no contract broadband nationwide, no cap. For real.
Some interesting caveats here. First of all, was it 200 megabits down and less than that up? So it's a garbage internet connection. More importantly, this is in lieu of that free/discounted program that Congress let expire. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, that was last week.
So they're like, oh, hey, the poors want some internet? Sure. Here's a no-cap internet.
Let them eat cake.
And it's all prepay. So you have to prepay. You get low speeds, but it is unlimited. Oh, and also it's an extra $5 if you want to use a mobile hotspot.
Wow.
I imagine there's a lot of little fees like that, don't you?
Yeah, depending on how you use it.
Wait, you wanted text messages?
We didn't put that in there.
And we all know that Google search it's lost. We've lost it. Our civilization has lost one of the better inventions that we ever had. I don't know. I guess you could argue that it was always a means of control. But they have recognized that they've done a stupid thing and they've made it terrible. And they've kind of given us a bit of a concession.
Revolutionary new Google feature hidden under More tab shows links to web pages.
Now, we're doing these a little out of order because you've probably all heard at this point, Google is going full AI on search results. And now you will get AI. Oh,
Sign up for free.
I can't show you the screenshots, but now you will get AI output before you get actual search results. Maybe you don't want that. I don't.
I almost never do.
So it turns out now, like, up at the top where you can click like news, images, and so forth. Now there's going to be an option called web. But web is way over on the right hand.
It's not in the first. Yeah, you're going to have to click more, which is...
So yeah, unless you have a really wide display to give Google enough room to print all those tabs, you're going to have to go and click on the 3 dots to show more options and click web.
There's certain things Google is still better for, like their search engine, but like at this point I pretty much only use DuckDuckGo. But then sometimes it's not great either. And so
But that's just Bing.
Yeah, they're all terrible.
And Bing is definitely using AI, right?
Yeah, I think at this point.
I don't know if they passed that through to DuckDuckGo. Oh.
This has been an eventful episode. Ryan got a call.
2 calls.
2 calls, yeah. Wendell's back.
All right, you know what? Let's go back in time because I know that you're going to have shit to say
Oh, yeah, we didn't have as much to say about this really. This is kind of a Wendell Bate story. So
about these two.
Oh my gosh. Intel's new Thunderbolt Share provides file and screen sharing without hurting network performance. This is something that should have been here forever ago. Macs have been doing this for a decade. The guy at Intel literally said you can do 60K uncompressed, 60 FPS 4K, no.
Collect yourself.
You can do 60
So
FPS
excited.
full HD and a lower frame rate with other stuff, but it's uncompressed. It's like, no, that's dumb. That is like the worst feature set ever. I mean, it's good that it does that, but if you're telling me that Thunderbolt is so slow that it can't... My phone has a higher resolution than HD. Come on.
you're not feeling good, and like we immediately get you back into a story where you're heated.
Do you have...
I'm going to projectile vomit all over the... But like, I
The
mean...
soundboard, don't do it like the other way. Hell, vomit on me, don't hit the soundboard.
This is how behind Intel is. Like Thunderbolt 5 should have been here like 2 years ago. It's good that PCs are finally going to get this functionality, but they are overhyping the crap out of it, and that is very, very disappointing.
Do you have any strong thoughts on this one?
This is exciting because it's AMD Core Performance Boost for Linux getting so the problem is that AMD has added loads and loads of cores, and operating systems are just catching up.
But they're catching up.
Yeah, have we done the AT&T one yet? I had a lot to say about the AT&T buying satellite company.
Oh, I don't think we've gotten to that yet.
We've not gotten there yet.
That one's the thing we've done 2 videos on. It's like just me ranting about how terrible Windows is for non-obvious reasons.
Well, not just Windows, everything. The whole ecosystem is awful. And this is not really any new information here, but it's just nice that, Windows Central they're pointing it out.
Microsoft's quest for short-term dollars is doing long-term damage to Windows, Surface, Xbox, and beyond. I'll go out on a limb. I'll say my opinion of what Microsoft is doing to the start menu is shareholder fraud. Like Microsoft hopes that their shareholders are too stupid to understand that a lot of their line go up Bing metrics come from forced use of the start menu. It's like, It'd be a shame if something happened to your locally installed programs. Why don't you interact with these Bing stuff so that our line go up, and then I'll show you your locally installed programs.
Or eventually it'll just be advertisements.
Or maybe not. Maybe I won't show you anything.
Well, when it comes to advertisements, I'm so disappointed in my fellow Americans and, in
Yeah.
fact, the world, because we almost glimpsed a future where instead of advertisements, we just paid for what we wanted and only what we wanted. And they tortured that model to the point that it resembles nothing like it was before. And in fact, we seem to have come full circle.
Netflix ad here is 40 million monthly active users, nearly double its scale at the start of 2024. That's not the interesting thing from this headline. The interesting thing from this headline is when Netflix detects you're doing password sharing, it gives you the option to fund an account for the person you're sharing your password with, and that is less than bumping your account to an account that has direct access because it is ad supported.
That's right. And they're still charging you money for these accounts. Ad supported is not free or free with ads. It's money with ads, just less money. But the ads actually make them a lot more money than if you were just paying. So they would prefer you to be an ad user. How many ads are they actually selling?
Netflix to take on Google and Amazon by building its own ad server.
A lot.
Well, sometimes the cost of running the show, like, let's say you got Green Acres on there and you get one ad spot on Green Acres, that's free money. You didn't pay anything for Green Acres licensing, or it's vanishingly small.
But at least, maybe the streaming services, they've all gone to ads and, they're all, you have to have 5 different subscriptions. It's terrible. But at least it's not like the old days where the TV companies just got to decide what you wanted to watch and you didn't have any say in it. At least you can just subscribe to whatever you want, right?
Comcast to launch Peacock, Netflix, and Apple TV Plus bundle at a vastly reduced price.
This is exactly this is trying to cut off Max and Disney, right? This is in response to that.
This is also prep to, and I'll just go ahead and Level 1 predicts it here. This is prelude to tying your account to a specific television or device. Maybe an IP address, but we're going to go back to the old days of, I don't know if this is you or not. This is your device, but you're going to have to pay a few dollars extra to watch it on this other device, just like cable TV.
Now, do you think those accounts will be limited to your Comcast address? Could you take a mobile device?
Historically, the answer has been no, but they may have overcorrected for that.
They might offer it at first, but then be like, oh, hang on a minute. Yeah. Or maybe you have to download the Comcast app.
What if I like watching TV at work? Like, wait a minute.
Well, Broadcom, 2024 has been a year of, some would say, mistakes from Broadcom. They've made some decisions that have really, really angered the customer base. But now they're going to give you, they're benevolent. They're going to give you some of that back.
VMware is giving away Workstation Pro and Fusion Pro for free for personal use. And this is because absolutely everything has taken over the universe. I don't think this was planned, because if this was planned, they would have done this before shelving the free version of ESXi. So they could have said, hey, if you're running home lab stuff, just spin this up. And it's not exactly the same product. They don't have the same feature set. But this doesn't seem okay.
You think that the leadership at Broadcom might have gotten some angry emails?
I think it's going to be like Oracle. You know Oracle, if you install VirtualBox and you install the USB 3 driver, Oracle's legal team will send you an email if they figure out that you're using it commercially and you have to license it. That's just the magic of Oracle licensing.
Well, I think they're getting angry emails. And I think this man did as well, which may have led to this.
Unity Create boss Marc Whitten is resigning. This is the person who was blamed for coming up with this is going to be wildly expensive, and you're going to have to pay for people to download the Unity app, regardless of if it's a reinstall.
They walked that back, and now they're walking him out the door.
Really, they claim the whole problem is that Hollywood is using Unity to do television production, and because they never actually release a game, it's all completely for free, which seems like you could fix that problem in a different way that doesn't punish game developers.
Well, some game developers maybe do deserve to be punished because they're doing some really nasty things. And unfortunately, and this is all of your fault, gamers have serious FOMO. They want it now. They want to be the first. They want to get on Twitch. They want to get on YouTube. And they'll sign pretty much anything you put in front of them.
Game Dev says contract barring subjective negative reviews was a mistake. Somebody sent me the report that they sent. There was some game that was canceled, and they sent me a report on why they thought the game was bad because they play tested it, and they were like, "Here, do," and I didn't release it because I didn't have enough context or multiple sources or anything. But that game actually was canceled.
Now, could you prove in court that your criticisms were objective?
It's your opinion. I mean,
But I mean, certain mechanics could
Yeah.
be.
if you launch the game and it crashes, that seems pretty objective.
Yeah, but I mean, too, like sometimes you might say, like, this game, I didn't care for this, or this thing, but like maybe it's just something about that genre you don't like.
That would definitely be subjective, though, so you couldn't
Yeah.
do it. Your legal team would probably lose no matter what, because your legal team would not have the funding that theirs does. And this is something that it's not surprising, and it actually has happened quite a bit. But I imagine with this, what they're actually telling us is that we're not just going to start doing this, but we're going to cram them in any sort of flat surface in a game from now on. It's going to be advertising.
Oh, just every time you pause.
EA is looking at putting in-game ads in AAA games. We'll be very thoughtful as we move into that, says the CEO.
Thoughtful of our profits.
That's true. He didn't qualify.
Yeah. We'll be thinking of all that sweet cash in our pockets.
So yeah, they point out that games have already done this, usually on billboards and games that involve driving, which is maybe a little more immersive. But I think this is going to be way more.
It'll be very intrusive.
Obvious.
I'm 100% sure.
And here's something I think that we've all experienced, right? This is a universal experience for the modern man.
Microsoft is finally ditching Word's annoying default paste behavior, which is paste with formatting, which is terrible. You always want to paste as plain text, almost always.
So you copy paste out of a web page. Well, guess what? It's copying all that markup. And when you put it in the Word doc, it's like, well, I'll try to work with this. And, you get the meme about, the image flies off to the...
It's somewhere in a black hole. You'll never find it again.
So that's good. I think you do have to go into the settings and disable the old way.
Well, you can, by default it'll be, but you can do it now. Like if you want it now, you can just change it now.
I bet the metrics on that, when they look at it, are going to be almost 100%.
Yeah, that's the paradox though of making good software is that you have somebody that's looking at the Microsoft Word analytics and they say, wow, most people do not change a single default. And then you have a guy in a suit that doesn't actually use computers that looks at the start menu and says, wow, most people don't change the default. Let's make it as awful as possible.
Clearly, we can ruin this somehow.
Yeah. And then when people start changing the default, it was like, that's weird. Our numbers show that most people don't change the defaults, even when it's, a 7 on the annoying scale. That should be a hint that what you've done is a 9 on the annoying scale that people are willing to change it. So then you take away their ability to disable those kinds of things in the start menu. Like, what's your thought process here?
Well,
Money is the thought process.
That's a great lead-in because you missed the story, but it's the one about the Google search where you can go back to the old one, but you have to go and click the More menu and you have to click Web. And who's going to do that? The same people who never change their Word defaults are never going to do that. And Google knows it, and that's why they did this. And everybody else knows it too, and they know they're going to get screwed.
News publishers sound the alarm on Google's new AI-infused search, warn of catastrophic impacts. I'll give you a catastrophic impact. I'm going to write my own large language model. Hint, I've already got it. And I can have it trawl CNN Business and a couple other websites and just summarize it for me. And it's not a search engine. It's not Google. It's me. I did it. I wrote a piece of software that is doing this for me. What are you going to do to stop it, news publishers? Not publish your article? Okay.
Well, they're going to paywall them, which they're already doing.
That's somebody else. Somebody will publish it somewhere else. And then I'll add that to the list and take CNN Business off. Problem solved.
Yeah, that's every week, Bloomberg. Every week. It's not working. You'll never get me.
There are publications that I would pay for, but just like, $20 a month.
Yeah, that's the issue. Is like everyone has that paywall, and it's all like $5 here, $10 here, $15, and it's like I can't afford to do that.
The credit card transaction fees are so high to make this kind of a web untenable. If you had, a transaction system where you didn't have to pay a third party to give a website $1 or $2, I'd probably do that.
That's terrorism. We've already established that. It's money laundering.
Visa's line got to go up.
Now I can say for the first time since maybe the early 2000s, in a roundabout way, admittedly, I will have purchased Call of Duty.
Call of Duty Black Ops 6 reportedly set to launch straight into Xbox Game Pass. This is a bit of a bold move from Microsoft to try to win the console wars. Interestingly, I do think Xbox Game Pass has been a better value than, say, the PlayStation Network in kind of a hilarious way.
I got to say, there have been maybe 5-6 times where I'm like, I don't need this monthly cost. I'm just going to cancel it. And then they hit me with a game that I'm like, all right.
I'm back in.
Yeah. They got me week before last or so with the Manor Lord.
Oh, yeah. That's hot.
I'm
I've
here
seen
for
that
Manor
everywhere.
Lord, yeah. So now they got me for another month. They're good at that. They're good at giving me just enough to keep me there. Like a stray cat. And I will admit I'm a bit of a ChatGPT user. I know you are as well.
Yeah.
That's very useful if you know how to work it correctly, but...
Although I think Claude's better at coding.
Have you used Omega yet?
Mm-hmm. It's
I
not.
thought Omega was pretty good.
It's not. It's not as good as a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what they changed, but like a couple of weeks ago, it was nailing it every time, and now it responds faster, but it seems dumber.
Well, some places are not tolerant of it.
NetBSD code commit guidelines. Commit only code that you're familiar with. Yeah, people are trying to backdoor you. It's like, yo, Bob, let me help you with that code. Do not commit tainted code to the repository. What do they mean by tainted? They mean AI generated. Do not commit code from foreign trees. Yeah. The more intrusive your changes are, the higher level of required prior approval. This doesn't really stop things, though. The higher level of changes, it is very easy to introduce a trivial change with catastrophic consequences.
But that does explicitly ban you from letting ChatGPT generate code and then submitting it as your code.
It even bans Copilot, which Copilot is not the same level of code generation as, say, Claude, where you're like, here's the thing that I want to do. I'm going to just type out my outline here in comments. And it's like, oh, I got you, fam. And then it's just like going to town.
Probably safer if we don't have that.
Yeah.
As convenient as it is. And just a sprinkle of social media news this week. I didn't even know what this was.
Scoop, Meta will shut down Workplace, its tool for businesses.
I've done a little bit of stuff for business. I don't know if I know what Workplace is either.
This was like their answer to Slack.
Oh, okay.
It did not work out for
I
them.
didn't know anyone who used that.
And Reddit, we all know that Reddit is now the new cash cow, right? They've put up the money and now they have to start trying to extract as much value as they can from it. They're going to try to do the Twitch economy.
Reddit to release new products aimed at sites' user economy.
They're re-releasing Reddit Gold.
If they deleted your Reddit Gold a couple of years ago, to get it back? I'd like it back, please.
I don't think so. It's non-fungible. And as usual, the social media companies are a little bit worried about the, like eating your own poop scenario with AI. And more of them are trying to figure out how they're going to avoid that.
TikTok to label AI-generated content from OpenAI and elsewhere. Sometimes they detect it, and sometimes they ask you to label it. But they want it labeled, because otherwise it's going to be bad for the next generation of AI.
And they're trying to do the auto detection stuff. I don't know how successful that's going to be.
Oh, no, we need the AT&T story. It's gone. It's business, right? Was it in the wrong section?
No, space, right?
Oh, space, okay.
You're talking about the satellites. Right?
Yeah,
It'll
yeah.
be next episode.
Next episode. It's kind of a business story. You'll want to watch it if you own AT&T stock.
And finally, a heartbreaking story, but it does beg the question of how much responsibility does social media have? Now, were you guys able? I wasn't able to see a specific social media they blame this on.
No.
It was just sort of like, I don't know where this kid
Probably
found
some sort
it.
of challenge on like TikTok or
Could be YouTube. I don't know.
yeah.
Teen who ate a spicy tortilla chip died of high chili consumption. Also had a heart defect, the autopsy has said. It's a common heart defect, but apparently he developed an arrhythmia from too much capsaicin, and that is what caused his heart to stop. And apparently no one around him knew how to do CPR.
They've pulled the product, but the product says not for purchase by anyone under, I think it's 16 years old. The store sold it to him anyway. And also, when you open it up, the packaging is like, no, seriously. If you're a kid, don't do this. And if you have any health problems, don't do this. This is dangerous.
He did not know that he had a heart defect.
But he did know that he was too young.
Yes.
But do we need products on the store shelves
That are that spicy.
that are designed
Yeah.
to hurt us? I don't know.
The capsaicin crew is commenting below.
Yeah, some people really like spicy foods. And I mean, I like spicy, but I don't like when I can only taste spice.
But I do sometimes enjoy those videos.
Of watching other people suffer.
Yeah.
The buffalo wings one had somebody on there that was, it was like Ryan Reynolds or somebody that was just,
You're talking about hot ones.
yeah. I mean, I was in tears laughing at their suffering, and it was like, I felt a little bad laughing at suffering, but then it was also like, he's doing this to himself.
And before someone in the comments says, "Oh, we can't do that though because you can't eat chicken."
We could put it on like a piece of celery or something.
Buffalo Wild Wings sells celery with their Wild Wings treatments.
One of the recipes in my new dehydrated tofu. You ever had that?
I've never had dehydrated tofu.
I don't think so.
I'm not even sure how that would work.
Probably not well.
What would it turn into?
I found that tofu preparation, like when you just get the block of tofu, it tastes like tepid water.
It doesn't taste like anything, yeah. It's kind of the beauty of it. It's like the vanilla of
you
savory
need another cooking step to give it the flavor of something. I found that mixing it with potatoes is the most easy to achieve a reasonable taste. But I like it when it tastes vaguely like meat, which is hard to do.
Mm.
Share your tofu recipes below.
Fun times. We'll see you Friday.
Bye.